The Nigerian Senate has launched a thorough investigation into the alleged economic sabotage in the petroleum industry, specifically focusing on the importation of toxic fuel into the country. The Senate Ad Hoc Committee, led by Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele, announced that it will summon major stakeholders in the petroleum sector for questioning, including the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, and the Nigeria Ports Authority, established on July the 3rd this year. The committee aims to uncover those responsible for importing hazardous products and substandard diesel into Nigeria. The investigation will encompass various aspects, including pre-shipment and pre-discharge standard test parameters, compliance with the Petroleum Industry Act, and the activities of regulatory authorities. The committee has pledged to conduct a comprehensive investigation without sparing any wrongdoers. A public hearing is scheduled for September and will involve key stakeholders such as international oil companies, Dangote Group, and modular refineries. The committee has warned that warrants of arrest will be issued for any agency head who refuses to comply with the invitation. With the integrity of the committee members at stake, the investigation promises to be a significant step towards revealing the truth behind the toxic fuel importation scandal. We are joined in the studio by Olusegun Olutayo, a public affairs analyst and energy consultant. Good morning.
It's good morning, to have you join us. Good morning, Olamide, and good morning to our viewers.
And via Zoom, we have joining us Adesegun Osibanjo, lead consultant, MaakBeat Transnational Ltd. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me on the show.
Let me begin with you, Adesegun. What you make of this whole brouhaha, some will call it, this whole conversation around between Aliko Dangote Group, the federal government, the NNPCL, and all the intrigues around it, and now the government saying they will ensure they investigate what really is going on.
Okay. Let me start this way. It's been how would I put it? We're having all these issues now because there is a new sheriff in town, and the current sheriff the current sheriff is really not favorably disposed to running it business as usual. In time past, you won't get to hear all this brickbatting going on here. The NNPCL having to come up with this very strong defense, and Dangote, the Dangote Group as well. The unfortunate part is that I'll say this: I'm proudly African. I'm totally in support of the Dangote refinery, but see, the prebendal treatment that the Dangote Group has been having has got to be curtailed. Why did it get to? It has to be at the Afrexim Bank AGM in faraway Bahamas that the group came up with this revelation of the high sulfur content in the fuel in the country. So for me, we're having all this because it's no longer business as usual.
I'll need for you to expatiate on something you mentioned not too long ago, talking about the preferential treatment that the Dangote Group is getting. Is that the issue here?
See, it's part of the issue.
How so?
Okay. Now, like I said, it's no longer business as usual.
Absolutely.
Yes, the prebendal treatment is no longer there. And Dangote Group is kind of trying to vilify NNPC and the rest of them into coming up with this issue of quality of PMS. Now, today's problem didn't just come today. They've been there over time immemorial. We've been living with this issue. PMS or diesel, okay, let me even stick with PMS. We know that PMS has got grades. There's a premium grade, there are other grades. But now what you get in Nigeria today is the same grade of premium motor spirit. And it gets so bad at times that you buy fuel and it stinks a lot. And the stench is so bad, even harmful for breathing. So why did he have to? He's not having, there's no doubt about it. He's not having it business as usual. And I tell you, this issue of not getting crude for cracking, for local cracking here, is also a fallout of his style. Now, he's negotiating with the IOCs. He forgets the fact that they all have their quotas. The federal government has its own quota, which I'm not sure whether it's still 60, 55, or 40. And the IOCs also have their own quotas. And everyone is at liberty to sell to whomever they have. And I'm sure a lot of them have they have commitments already. So they will definitely do that. But Dangote is asking them to sell to him on his own terms. And that won't work. So we need to balance things here, and not this vilifying thing will not work.
All right. Back to you in the studio. We'd like for you to, clarify whether you are sharing the same, view with him as regards the facts that, or what he has mentioned, saying that Dangote enjoyed preferential treatment to an extent. Probably this was where the conversations of monopoly and the production of adulterated fuel in his refinery came in. But my issue really is why some of these accusations came up after he cried foul.
Thank you very much, Lamide. I want to share part of what my colleague has said over there. But we need to put certain things. When you say preferential treatment, Dangote is actually breaking the ground, which has been pretty difficult for our government on their part to do for us year in, year out. Don't forget, since the beginning of this democracy in 1999, one of the focal points of campaign has been fixing our refinery. And the possibility now, the four that we don't have any one of them functioning. We had during the last administration that possibly Port Harcourt should be coming up December and supplying crude oil. And from the last report we have from the NNPCL, we are still hopeful, of which they told us that it's not about light. They should come up possibly in August. Yep. So when you look at the bold step taken by Dangote, I would say for government themselves to have taken the bold step of investing in that particular business venture of setting up the refinery, they must give preferential treatment. The last administration did that because they believe this is our own, and we must look for a way to support to bring it up. The question of why are we having some of these events unfolding now that he has to speak up. You see, I want to appeal to the conscience of both parties. I can tell you technically both parties are missing it out. Dangote seems to be winning the sentiment of the people because there are certain things that are needed to be done. First and foremost, there are ways you engage your regulators if you must stay in the business, as far as this country is concerned. Not only in the oil and gas sector, in every sector. There are ways you manage, let me put it that way, your regulators in such a way that you have their buy-in. Don't forget, the investment of the government is not of small minute. In this that we're saying, and they have their interest to protect there. But at the same time, we have even the regulators on their path. What are the steps that they have actually taken to support our own domestic content in achieving the desired result? I will say this, that the DG of the downstream sector coming on public to actually bring down the products, that you're getting from that refinery was really uncalled for. I would say that it's like you are running down the business that your government is getting involved in when you are supposed to have actually guided the government in areas of responsibility of what to do to make those things work. So I would say, yeah, it's like two elephants are fighting. But we need to have a common ground where both parties need to sit down and see how they will. You see, Dangote on his own path, I will say this, and it's applicable to every business. He's a businessman. He must look for a way to win the sentiment of the people. Regulators are out there, and you will bear me this. In the communication, the NBCs won't smile at you if there are certain things that this organization flouted. Whether you want to win the sentiment of the people or not, they will slam and give you those things. But there are ways that the organization have good relationship with the regulators to get the desired result that is expected. At this point, those are the common areas we need to appeal
and that's where I'm going, because I'm wondering how best he should, relate with these people, talking about the NMDPRA as the downstream sector and the regulators who are saying now that it is only even the NNPCL that can buy products, the PMS, from Dangote refinery, because he'll be selling at international prices and they cannot afford to pay such, huge amount. What really is Dangote on his part not, doing in terms of relating with these people, and what really do these people want?
Yeah, you've mentioned one of it. Dangote came out to actually mention to us that starting the production of that thing does not imply that we'll have reduction like everybody has been envisaging in the cost of PMX to the people, because it's actually getting the crude from the international market at that prevailing price. And that is what is obtainable of every business person for us to carry it out. People will ask, but we have the crude, why are we not giving it out to him? The fact remains that we've actually sold so many of our crude out, possibly on credit, that we need to just be looking for way. We've borrowed against that, which we all experienced during the last administration, which we all saw. So whatever production you are saying now is actually to that. That's one. On the aspect of the IOC, they are business type call, and highest bidder goes that route. It is only the government side that can say, okay, we feel we have stake here. We can contribute this quota. But for the IOC, there is no how you can untwist them. They are businessmen like Dangote that intend to give the best to the highest bidder. And this is not business that you win by sentiment. You can only do that on the part of your investors, like the government, to say, you are investing in this, and this is our own local content. Is there a way you can speak more to the IOC in such a way that they can favor us, not blackmailing some of these things? That we just have to say for us. But we keep saying it. What we have seen now is like two people trying to rub shoulder, and you are trying to see how best you can have that side to have things to your side. But we must say, as business person, you look at the best area of managing your regulator. They can make and mar whichever investment we've seen. And the only thing we're talking here is that the regulators are arm of the government, and government has invested in this. We must believe in our own. Government must be able to do everything within their reach to support in such a way that we'll have the best result out of this, our own, what we can proudly call our own in Nigeria, in Africa, that is changing the dynamics of things in the world. But rubbing shoulder and fighting one another, it's not the best way to go, because there is nothing to gain to it. I want to prevail. Since the National Assembly is inviting the stakeholders in this, they are our representative. A lot of us won't be able to make ourselves available. They should look for a way to have a common ground. Sentiment should not prevail. But situation where regulators are expected to do their part, if there are areas where they have actually gone beyond where it should be, not putting the human face for business survivor, they should try as much as possible to correct that, but we must have a common ground. Here, it's like the man looking for a way to protect his side, which I understand. Ordinarily, I don't expect even Chairman Dangote to come and be the one speaking. You should have your communication, but you know when you're frustrated, you tend to regulate, you tend to relegate, those that are assigned to do the job, and come out to speak yourself so that you can put the weight that is desired. That we quite understand, but it's high time. Thank God that the National Assembly are actually prevailing to investigate into some of these issues to have a common ground. but it is not where we will actually, be relegating some of the things that we're supposed to do locally, but have a common ground where both parties, we have a win-win situation for the benefit of the common man in the country.
And how proactive this committee will actually be has also been part of the questions they've been asking, because we had a similar incident where they raised the issue and they had a committee, the Senate had a committee, the House of Reps also had a committee on marketers bringing bad fuel into the country during the Buhari era. And, the result of that committee is yet to be seen.
Let me just interject there. You see, it's part of the problem we have in this country. Most of the time when we have issues like this, there are no punishment. We all heard there, a lot of filling station was clamped down, and they came out to say, indeed, there were few adulterated fuel that was injected into the system. But till today, just like we have in other sectors, you will hear about certain set of people who are sponsors to terrorism and the likes, and nothing is coming up. There are no punishment to serve as deterrent. And that's why, for me, even the National Assembly calling for this investigation, you will ask yourself, what will be the end result? We've heard that they are going to actually punish those that are found, culpable, who is carrying the wrongdoings. But you ask yourself, what has it been in time past? We've seen a lot of people who have actually perpetrated this ill, using some of the largesse they enjoy to even fight back the system and give us the wrong. We feel that there must always be decisive punishment for those that are found culpable. It's on that premise that we can actually move forward.
And perhaps this committee will also address major issues, not just this Dangote refinery issue, but also oil theft and major, issues of corruption in that sector. But very quickly to you, Adesegun, Dangote was quoted to have said it was ready to sell to the NNPCL. How viable is the refinery under NNPC if he were to sell? When you consider the condition of the current refineries under the NNPCL today, the refinery in Kaduna, the refinery in, I think, Port Harcourt, and the other one in Warri.
Okay. Before I get to that, now let me buttress what I'd said earlier on a little bit. Now, if you check 2019 to 2022, the federal government lost about 16.7 trillion, okay, in revenue tax reliefs, duty waivers, and the rest of them. Now, if you watch whom this went to, there are 46 large companies, okay, which got this, and Dangote Group featured prominently. Now, why are you giving tax relief? It's like you're pouring water into the ocean. There are other, how do I put it now, other businesses that require, that merit this the more, not those that don't merit it. If you do all this, if you do it discriminatorily, okay, it has a telling effect on economic growth and inclusion. Now, before I really come to address what you're saying again, everything must be done humanly possible, okay, to ensure that whether crude oil importation or fuel importation is stopped. Now, why I say this is this. If you look at the cost breakdown for importation, it is heavy. The ex-works price of the product itself directly from the refinery. There's also what we call the FOB, the free on board price, that you would have to do shipment from the doorstep of the refinery to the port of loading, wherever from the foreign country. Now, there's always there's also the freight cost, which is the ocean freighting from there to Lagos port or whichever port in Nigeria. Okay. Now, there is the insurance. Okay. There is also the oil terminal charges. There is the local distribution, the logistic charges, and all that. By the time you do all this together, I did a rough simulation in the second part of the article I wrote then, Roadmap to Achieving Self-Sufficiency in Nigeria's Energy Sector. That's part 2 for oil and gas. If you do all that, you would come to get 2,532 naira as your landed price, per liter. Okay, that is for importation. Now, if you're looking at local refining only, you would only have to add, the ex-works price, okay, and the local logistics distribution charges here. And that with the current rates, you would have fuel at 797. So that big disparity, look at it, 2005 and 797. It shows, I'm not saying this simulation is entirely correct, but it's a near figure to it. Now, it tells you there is very big disparity between importation and locally cracked fuel. So this is why I say this must be stopped. Now, on Dangote Group offering NNPC to take over this refinery, the refinery, that refinery is too monstrous in my own words, and NNPC has not got the competence at all to manage this refinery. So it is a no-no. NNPC cannot handle this. And I'm sure Dangote does not really mean what he has said, but he's ready. He wants, NNPC to buy him off. It won't work. He should stay and run his refinery and allow NNPC do its own job. Like I said earlier, playing the victim here would not help Dangote Group. As I said earlier, I'm also very, very, very much in support of the refinery.
Are you saying he's not the victim here?
Sorry?
Are you saying he's not a victim here? I didn't say the victim, but I'm saying he's not a victim because you say he's playing the victim. So I'm wondering if he is not.
Not a victim. He is not a victim. He has taken a lot of the system. He is not a victim at all. He is playing the victim, but he is not a victim. He is not. The unfortunate, the only way, like my colleague said, the only way out, I won't say this is a presidency thing. The president should sit all warring parties down. NNPC is also trying to play safe. The midstream regulator, the midstream and downstream regulator CEO, honestly, what they have done is washing dirty linen in public. Under previous administrations, this would not have happened. And no one would have been able to come out and begin to say, no, Dangote didn't do this, Dangote didn't do that. It is funny when you say now to tell the whole world that Dangote is about 45% completed when, it's been commissioned a long while ago. Of course, most of us knew what is happening. We knew that commissioning, it's not ready for commissioning, but it's been commissioned. Now you're also telling us you have not licensed this refinery. It doesn't add up. These are not things that we should be saying at this stage. For this kind of monstrous refinery, we shouldn't be saying all this at this stage. So my advice, again, oil theft, if we're very real, oil theft is a major issue. It's also affecting us. Right. Like 80% of our oil is stolen. It is honestly, I don't want to use the word laughable when we say it is at this point that we now want to start putting up flow meters at all our oil wells. When now Saudi Arabia sits behind a console, they have a control room where everything about, yes, it's a control room. It's a control room. You have all. They monitor every. All
right, but let me quickly ask you this before we go into addressing the matters of oil theft. The National Assembly wants to look at this matter critically to see if they can achieve a level playing field or level playing ground for everyone and every stakeholder. Because at the end of the day, the average Nigerian is the one feeling the pinch of whatever is going on. Right now, we can see that there is scarcity of the product as we speak. But then, what do you think the National Assembly needs to do to critically address this matter? And if you are confident that anything will even come out of this investigation?
Sincerely, if this issue is approached with all sincerity, a lot of good will come out of it. One, we need to really monitor all oil wells sincerely, in all sincerity. Let's see, like we say, yeah, this is not about rocket science, but the truth is energy is about engineering, it's about science, it's about technology, and it's also very technical. But our problems have always been, now, there is a logic to everything. Are we applying the right logic? Then, are we deploying the right methodology to this as well? Then what choices are we making? Energy is not for where we will start doing political quadratic and simultaneous equations. We're solving political quadratic and quadratic equations with energy. It is not done. You won't get anywhere. So sincerely, let's put up, the technology is available. Let's put up the right technology to monitor all oil wells. If we're still saying we want to start installing flow meters everywhere now, it is laughable. That's the truth. I really don't want to use that word, but that is the truth. It is laughable. We should have the complete technology installed to monitor, and you just sit in the comfort of one control room and you monitor everything. There will not be anything as theft. You can't talk of oil theft in Saudi Arabia today. That is one. If that is done, then if this 80% comes back into the mainstream volume, oil production, daily oil production volume, I believe we would have enough to share for export and for local refining. And okay, in the interim, they also need to look into they need to look into engaging the international oil companies, the IOCs, okay, for them to also consider assisting Nigeria with crude for local refining. So, and another thing that we also need to really, that this Senate committee needs to consider closely is making some oil wells available and dedicating them strictly. And that's a long-term measure anyway.
All right.
Them closely for refining. It should be strictly for local refining. We have to stop everything called importation, whether crude importation, refined products importation, all has to stop. If they don't stop, I tell you, prices of this commodity, petroleum products, will keep escalating, and it will become uncontrollable. All
right.
Let me pause.
Thank you very much for that. Back to you in the studio. What he mentioned about some of the, viable alternatives that, this committee can use in approaching this issue. But let's not also forget to, let's say, acknowledge some of these persons who are actively trying to sabotage the system. He mentioned Saudi Arabia, he mentioned other countries who are actively involved in their oil sector. However, even if we decide to implement some of these things, there are persons who are there, which even the MD and the CEO of the NNPC has acknowledged as principalities, so to speak, who are there to sabotage the system. And I'm also concerned about how this is, putting Nigeria or portraying Nigeria in terms of our posture for foreign direct investments. I'm sure foreign investors are looking at what is going on. If we can treat local investors like this, how much more a foreign investor?
Yeah, I've said it that we need to manage our image at the global space with the way and manner we are treating Dangote. And don't forget, an average businessman is looking for someone to take the step and break the camel back before that will venture into it. If he's being treated this way, he sent wrong signal, knowing fully well that everybody believes that the local investors understand the culture and the terrain at which they need to move. And if you cannot have the confidence of those locals, even if it's FDI or the one you have to give franchise, you are threatened that the business survivor may actually not be there. You see, to collaborate also what my other colleague has said, I think the aspect of NNPC coming to tell us so much we're losing in terms of crude oil theft. The government need to address it. If we have a lot of trips being embarked upon, and possibly because I happen to be a member of Transport Administration, which we have a segment that speaks to this pipeline transportation of a thing. We've asked ourselves the question, what actually will it cost? Technology is out there to monitor some of these things. And when you look at the investment of those illegal people diverting the crude, it's not something that is actually being carried out by small fries. These are things that take a lot of time, lot of investment. What as we speak, what is the result of the surveillance team that was set up by the federal government to monitor activity? We cannot be celebrating of moving from 800,000 barrels per day to 1.2 million barrels per day and feel that we've actually achieved a lot, when we have the potential of achieving as much as over 2 million, per barrel per day. So the only time we can give kudos to the achievement of the surveillance that we've actually engaged, of which some of us have queried, that what is the work of our security agency when we have to be contracting.
Well, the president gave them marching orders recently.
Yeah.
When they were hosted at the presidential villa, there was a meeting and they were given marching orders to ensure that they address this matter of oil theft, because what the president is targeting is about over 2 million barrels per day. That's which some persons have called ambitious, but then the president believes it's achievable. And that is why he's given the security operatives this marching orders to do what the needful.
You've actually given the marching order. How much of monitoring are you actually providing to? It's enough for you to speak. And people look at you and say, he has said his own, he goes back to bed to do. There must be timeline of delivery for some of this thing. Okay, I'm expecting, possibly as a finance person, I've always said this. They give you a target and tell you in the next 3 months, currently we are this figure, I want this to be, because this is what we expect. We know we have the capability of doing. I'm giving you the next 3 months, at least a quarter, to say we are moving from 1 million, at least to be at 1.3. Then we come back, review the position of things. If you're able to attain that, we can move from, it's just like you working in the financial institution as a marketer. They will give you a set target. They don't just tell you that you need to increase your DDA. There are timeline and specifics attached to this. I'm saying that as lacuna. You don't just give matching order without putting those timelines. If the president wants us to achieve 2 million in the next 1 year, you should be able to segment them. This is where we are currently, and this is where we're expected to be after the first 3 months, after the next 6 months, and be able to achieve it. If we are able to address that, it's like you are increasing the base of your revenue, of which you can now, decide to give certain quotas for the IOC, and like you said, dedicate some for the road. It's only in this part of the world that you have the raw materials, and you are still suffering to enjoy the benefit of the process. Don't forget, each time we keep saying that we want to encourage domestication, it's about saying that it is not only PMS, it's not only diesel, it's not only jet oil that you get from that crude. Other byproducts that we have therein are input into other arms of the government. Take, for example, fertilizers, take for a bitumen. All these other things are actually input that we are even going to be buying with this and scarce foreign exchange, because we are not refining some of those things locally.
Adesegun, quickly, your final thought on this matter. What would be the way forward?
Like I said, okay, I'll recap again. The way forward is the presidency wading into this. We are all aware that this has happened because the sheriff in town would not allow business be conducted the usual way it has been. Right. What we're talking about is not just the fault of Dangote Group. Previous administrations have collaborated with the organization to become a monopoly, whether we like it or not. It's the truth. The thing is for the presidency to now wade into this matter, resolve the issue of oil theft. Like I had said, let's put up the right technology is okay, and resolve. If you have to involve the IOCs to resolving this matter as well, ensure we have enough crude for local cracking. Thank you.
All right. Adesegun Osibanjo, lead consultant, MaakBeat Transnational Ltd. Thank you for your time. Must also thank you, Olusegun Olutayo, Chartered Accountant, Public Affairs Analyst, for your time as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. We will now quickly take a break and bring you the news update. Stay with us.